Hi students, we should be on page 200 in our textbook, and we're going to be reading the Indus Valley Civilization. Please follow along on the page or on your screen. The first civilization arose near rivers. One such civilization was in India. Its people farmed along the Indus River. Farmers grew plenty of food and populations grew. In time, some of the people settled in towns and cities and formed governments. The Indian subcontinent. So we have a subheading of our heading. Geographers divide the continent of Asia into regions. One of the regions is South Asia. It looks like a huge triangle jutting out into the Indian Ocean. Glance real quick at page 201, and do you see that triangle jutting out into the Indian Ocean? That's what we're referring to. Today, it includes the countries of India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Nepal, and Bhutan. India is by far the biggest country in the region. For much of its history, all of South Asia was simply known as India. It is still called the Indian subcontinent. A subcontinent is a large landmass that is set apart from the rest of the continent. The Indian subcontinent stretches almost 2,000 miles from north to south. In some places, it is nearly as wide from east to west. The subcontinent is separated from the rest of Asia by the towering Himalayas and Hindu Kush, two mountain ranges to the north. And if you glance at our map, you can see the mountain ranges that separate it. Please pause and answer the question. River systems. The Indus River flows across the northwestern part of the subcontinent. The Indus forms part of a river system, or a main river, and all of the other rivers and streams that drain into it. These rivers start as melting snow and ice in the mountains and flow to the sea. India's first civilization grew around the valley of the Indus River. This civilization developed in an area that is dry most of the year. When the river flooded, it left behind rich soil. River water let farmers harvest plentiful crops. These crops fed the cities of the civilization. To the east of the Indus, I want you to say this with me, the Ganges. Can you say Ganges? The Ganges River flows more than 1,500 miles across the northern part of the subcontinent. Its floods created a huge fertile plain, good for farming. The rich Ganges plain became the center of another ancient Indian civilization. So if we look back at our map, our triangle here, our mountains, and the Ganges River, and here's going to be the plateau, Ganges Plateau. Climate. Much of the Indian subcontinent has a tropical climate. For much of the year, the land bakes under a high, hot sun. Seasonal winds, known as monsoons, help shape life in this region. In the winter, dry monsoon winds blow from land to the sea. So the winds come this direction, from the land down to the sea. And they are dry. Little rain falls. But in the summer, the pattern reverses. Wet winds from the ocean blow onto the land. They bring rain, which provides water for crops. They also bring a welcome break from the intense heat. So if the wind is coming from the ocean, it's bringing water to fall. Okay, it's wet wind, bringing clouds. If it's coming from the north, from the land out to the water, it is dry. So that's monsoons. They go in either direction. Sometimes they're wet, sometimes they don't have any moisture. For much of India, agriculture depends on the summer monsoon. If the rains come on time, all is well. If the rains come late or not at all, crops die and people may starve. An advanced civilization. Farmers began growing crops in hills near the Indus River system around 7,000 BC. With a steady food supply, the population grew. After 3000 BC, cities began to develop on the broad plains of the Indus Valley. So this was 500 years after city-states in Mesopotamia. So Mesopotamia came first in 3500, and then in 3000 we have Indus Valley civilizations. By about 2500 BCE, these cities were the centers of the advanced Indus Valley civilization. However, by around 1700 BCE, the civilization had largely disappeared. Pause here and answer the next question. Archaeologists have discovered most of what we know about the Indus Valley civilization. In the 1920s, they discovered the ruins of two great cities, Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. Since then, archaeologists have found more than 1,000 other towns and villages from this civilization. Technology. Indus Valley cities were well planned and organized. The people of the Indus Valley built thick walls around their cities. They also built huge raised mounds of earth and brick in their cities. During times of flooding, these mounds remained above water. Many houses in these cities had a bathroom and toilet. Wastewater from houses flowed into brick-lined sewage channels. These were the world's first city-wide sewer systems. A trash chute in many houses led to a bin in the street. Pause here and answer the question. Many of the achievements of the Indus Valley people showed an advanced knowledge of mathematics. Their cities were built with wide, straight streets in a grid pattern. Oh, just like Greece, but Indus came first. The Indus Valley civilization had an advanced system of weights and measurements using multiples of 10, like the modern metric system. Farming the Indus Valley. The dry Indus Valley could not always depend on the monsoon rains. Therefore, Indus Valley farmers built irrigation channels and ditches. They brought river water to the wheat and barley fields. Oh, it sounds like Egypt. Some scholars think that these farmers stored their surplus crops in a granary, or special building used to hold grain. They may have been the first farmers to grow cotton for making cloth. Indus Valley farmers also raised cattle, sheep, goats, and chickens for food. They used oxen or cattle to pull carts. Animals seem to have been important to the Indus Valley people. They carved wooden animals and painted pictures of animals on pottery. Trade. The Indus Valley environment was rich in resources for trade. Indus Valley jewelers made beautiful jewelry from precious stones. Traders sold these jewelry as far away as Mesopotamia. Traders sold cotton cloth woven in the Indus Valley. They also sold teak, a valuable wood from a tree that grows in India. Indus Valley cities prospered from trade. Pause there and answer the question. Indus Valley traders used stone seals with writing to identify their goods. They stamped their seals on soft clay squares attached to their goods. Accurate weights and measurements help promote trade. Sumerian writers, so remember Sumer was in Mesopotamia, so Sumerian writers mentioned trade with people who probably came from the Indus Valley. Trade spread ideas between these two civilizations. So they were talking about these stamped seals. If we look over here on page 203, here's some examples of the stamped seals. So they would take essentially like a stamp that they're calling a seal and stamp it in, and they would have these little images and writing on it, and it would go with the goods so people understood what they were buying. Okay? Please turn to page. Oh, this page also shows an example of what Mohenjo-daro looked like. This would have been probably like the citadel there, lifted up area. And here we see a well-built sewer, the world's first. So even before the Romans, Indus Valley civilization had sewers. Okay, turn to page 204, please. Indus Valley mysteries. Artifacts and ruins of many buildings have been found in the Indus Valley. They provide a lot of information, but scholars still have many questions about the ancient civilization. They want to know more about its rulers, religion, and writing. They wonder why it disappeared and where its people went. Government and religion. Clearly, the people of the Indus Valley were well organized. Their cities show a surprising level of planning. They all used a common system of weights and measures. These facts suggest that the Indus Valley people had a strong central government, yet no royal statues or tombs have been found. This makes it seem unlikely that kings ruled the Indus Valley. Based on the available evidence, it just isn't possible to know for sure what kind of government the Indus Valley had. Most cities had a huge citadel or fortified area. The walled citadel was built on a raised platform of earth and brick that could have protected it from floodwaters or attackers. Scholars are not sure, but the citadel may have been a center of government, religion, or both. So it would have been similar to an acropolis, a citadel. Religion is another part of the Indus Valley civilization about which little is known. Scholars have found no obvious temples and no clear sign of priests. However, some Indus Valley statues look like gods worshipped in Hinduism, a religion that developed later in this religion. Also, some Indus Valley carvings look like people meditating, an important practice in Hinduism today. If you flip back to page 201, here is a picture of a statue that they are referencing, an Indus Valley man. Page 201 if you want to look at it more. Writing. Scholars have not yet discovered how to read the symbols found on the stone seals and pottery of the Indus Valley. There are too few examples of each symbol to be sure of its meaning. Most experts think that these marks are a form of writing. However, they do not know if these markings are names, records of sales, or something else. Disappearance. The greatest mystery is what caused this civilization to disappear. Sometime before 1700 BCE, the Indus Valley people began to abandon their cities. The civilization declined rapidly after that. No one knows why. There are some possible explanations. Some evidence or information used to prove something. Some evidence suggests that standing water in drains may have bred mosquitoes that spread disease and weakened Indus Valley populations. Or Indus Valley people may also have stripped forests of trees, leaving them without wood for building or fuel. A lack of forest cover would have caused severe floods that damaged Indus Valley cities. Or their cattle may have overgrazed the land, leaving bare soil. Smaller herds could have led to starvation. Or some historians think that climate change may have brought an end to the civilization. Years of drought could have made it impossible to feed city dwellers. They would either have starved or moved away. Foreign invasion might have also weakened the civilization. But nobody knows for sure what happened. But it would take 1,000 years for a new civilization to appear on the Indian subcontinent. So if we look at this map before we finish up, here is modern day India right here, and Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa. These were two major cities. Chanudaro also. And here is the trade over to Mesopotamia. These are the trade routes that they've been able to discern, and traded all the way to Egypt and even trade over into Greece.